Victory. What's up?
Hi, Jika. Hi, everyone. Okay, if you're back, just say, I'm back, or say something in the chat.
I'm back. I'm back. I didn't go anywhere, so I can't say I'm back, but I'm here.
Okay, I'm here. I think it's like only. Okay, amazing. Hi, everyone. This is Victory. I'm CVP Isaac in Singapore, and we'll be taking you through the session sales meeting today. Um, I think before we move forward, right, I just set some expectations like I really want the session to be interactive. So as much as possible, contribute because I feel like this is the backbone of everything that we do in BD. Like everything revolves around having sales meetings. So we do sales meeting every time. And if we get it right, then it will be a plus for everyone. So as much as possible, let's interact, let's ask questions, let's contribute so we can all learn from each other. Cool. Great. All right, so yeah, can go. So here I am really just wondering, okay, sales meeting, like really, we probably had all this session like every time in Isaac from LCs to MC level. But I really just want to know from you guys, maybe a couple of people can share, what are your expectations from the session in terms of what do you want to get or what are you curious about or what is the part that needs some sort of explanation? Anyone can share or just what are you looking forward to in terms of the content of the session. Anyone wants to share really what they're looking forward to when I know we've had sales meeting like oh I don't know every time there's a BD summit or a BD space there is obviously sales meeting, so we probably had it a lot of times. Oh my god, Giga. I don't know what you mean by that, but okay, thank you for the confidence. Anyone else wants to share? Anyone else wants to share? Like really? Hi, Colonel. Do you want to share? Okay. I don't know who's here and who's not because everyone's camera is turned off, but I have faith that you guys are listening to me. Okay, if
I'll
you do,
second Jika on this. Um, I'm looking
okay.
for like a really good session. My expectations, and I'm pretty sure Victory is going to set the standards very high.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that means, but great. Thank you, Jika. You're such a vibe. Okay, so we can move on. I think that if you do, in the course of the session, find out anything or have some questions or some sort of expectations along the way, can just put it in the chat. All right. So for this first for the first part of the meeting, we want to talk about what should the agenda of the sales meeting with the client include. I'm not even going to beat about the bush and go through the basics like oh what's a sales meeting and everything. I feel like we all know that, but so what should be like the flow of the sales meeting and what should be like the agenda? First off, I want to say that in case you didn't know, news flash, every sales meeting should have an agenda. I think so. I believe it's the best way to do sales because then if you don't have a flow, it's just like coming for BD Summit and there is no agenda, then we will just talk about everything and nothing, right? So having an agenda is quite important for sales meeting. And for me, there are two ways that I do it. Um, but I will share that with you as we progress. But let me hear from you guys. Anyone wants to share what should the agenda of the sales meeting with the client include? Just your opinion. If you've ever made an agenda, what was the flow? Don't need to take us through everything, but what was the flow like generally? Guys, come on, help me out here.
I can share. It's Michelle.
Hi, Michelle. Thank you so much.
Hi. Definitely to begin this sales meeting. Yeah, it's best to reintroduce ourselves again, and then like explain the agenda, and then after that and then like we present about our purpose to have a collaboration with them. And I think like from our side, from Isaac's side, it should be done like very concise. So I think like 15 minutes should be 15 to 20 minutes should be enough. And then like if it is like a 1 hour meeting, after we present about Isaac, we should like have an an open Q&A, like for the partners to ask questions, and also to understand the partners like pain points, and maybe to for them to be able to present about their situation or about their company. So yeah, and then ending the meeting with a call to action, for example, like when it would be best for us to follow up them again, and then like or maybe like maybe can we like send you the revision of the proposal or something else. So yeah, that's my idea.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much, Michelle. I think that, yeah, that really covers most of what we do usually in our sales meeting. And having it outlined like that really gives you some sort of clarity. And if you didn't know, like, here's one thing that an agenda will help you do. It will help boost your confidence sometimes. I know that for some of us, we are like pros at doing sales meeting, right? Unlike other of us, like, still very scared every time we're doing a sales meeting. But having an agenda just makes you know that, oh, I'm going to talk about this and I'm going to talk about that, and it gives you some kind of clarity and sort of increases your confidence when you're talking to the client, because you know what you're going to say next and you know what the flow will be like. Okay, so moving on to the next slide. So here's like a sample agenda that I use. So I start off with introductions, of course, myself, the partner, get to know the company. I think I always put get to know the company first because I really want to ease into the conversation. That's what I do. So they just talk a bit about, I start off with what I've learned or what I know about the company, and then they do a bit more of the introduction. And then I ask a question relating to relevant context. And the reason that I do this is to build some sort of rapport, as you will see in the next phase. I think people get sort of comfortable with you when they know that you're not just there for your selfish reasons, right? Either you want to learn or you want to get to sort of provide some sort of solutions or something, but you're not just there to make a sale. So relevant context is really important, like external relevant context. And a very good example is COVID situation that we're in right now. One of the very first landing questions or building a rapport questions I asked the company is, yeah, so we after the introduction, I get to know the company. It's about, yeah, how the company is dealing with COVID, how COVID affected them, and what they're doing to really recover and, empathize a bit. And that usually spans into the next phase of the conversation, which is where I get to present Isaac. So up until this point, it's really been about the company. So they start to get comfortable, because if I start off the meeting with just telling them, oh, okay, hi, I'm from Isaac and Isaac is this, they automatically get into the sales mode and they want to negotiate, and then they are just listening to you to, yeah, to hear the points where they can use to reply you later or something like that. And it's not really a very great mood to start off your sales meeting, especially if it's the first one, but even if it's the first or the second one, just find a relevant external context. And sometimes it can be simple things like, oh, I saw that your company recently launched a new product, or I saw your company recently celebrated 25th anniversary or something. For some of them, I think, they've been like 3 years at the company, and then I see something I bring up. So yeah, a relevant external context is good for building rapport. Has to be relevant, like, guys. That's the important thing. Don't bring something like completely irrelevant to your conversation or to the company. So then I go to get to know Isaac, and from there we talk about synergy point from both perspectives. So here it's quite important that you don't just talk about synergy point or collaboration point from your perspective. So what I do is I keep an open conversation, right? I think it's great that we keep an open conversation, and oh, great, your company does this and do that, and here we do this. I think we can collaborate on this, but what do you think? All right, or let them go first. However, there is no cuts and like cut and paste method, but this is a general flow. So having like a synergy point from both perspectives is good. I always ask things like, yeah, what would it mean to have um, a very vibrant youth association by your side, something like that. I love that line of questioning, especially if you're coming from a in a general or national partnership point of view, not just maybe a specific product, because then you begin to open up the possibilities of the mind of the customer. Having a very vibrant, agile, um, young people, youth, student kind of association that is very innovative and can help you do this and that and that. What would it mean to have this kind of organization by your side? And at that moment, what it does, like, even if right away they don't say, oh, we have this project that we want young people to run. It puts them into a futuristic mode, like, hey, if we had a group of really vibrant young people, probably we could do this. So the signature point is from both perspectives, and you need to ask a question that will bring them into asking another question, by saying, excuse me. So basically, then I move on to the next, which is like expectation setting. So all of this leading up to this point is you basically just ease into the mood. And right now, what you want to do at expectation setting is sort of explain the process. Like, okay, yeah, this is going to happen. I'm going to talk to you about some of these our products, and you will consider it and just probably walk them through how the sales flow will go, so that you don't get into some uncomfortable situations. Like, maybe if there's time, I could share one very uncomfortable situation that happened when proper expectation setting wasn't done. So you want to get expectation setting on the process and everything that would happen from both your side and from the partner side. And lastly, define clear call to actions once you're done, and possible timeline. So once you've done the expectation setting, they say, oh, okay, we're quite interested in this, and can you tell us more about that? If you're going to send a deck, probably want to let them know when you will send the deck. I think for um, my very first experience with sales, right, I was like, okay, yeah, I will send you a partnership proposal, and you never put a timeline to it. And then I can send it 1 week later, or I can send it 5 days later. And it wasn't very good in terms of response rate I get. But usually, what it does is, if I tell them I'll send it on Wednesday, and then I send it on Wednesday, they start to take me really seriously. So it's a two-way thing. Don't give a deadline when you can't meet it, but as much as possible, try to give a reasonable margin. So call to actions are not complete without timeline, in my opinion. So you're just going to say, oh yes, then I will send you this. Without a timeline, it's really not very helpful as a call to action. And like Michelle said, can be your next meeting. This is a lifesaver. Try to, even if you can't get the exact date and time, try to just, um, let them be aware that, yeah, this same time next week is a possibility, or block out 2 or 3 days. Okay, so here's my sample agenda, and the rest of the session we just explain a bit about what this agenda does. So now, part of a sales meeting with the company that you've won, now we've gone through the agenda and the flow, right? This is really what you want to achieve with all of that. Like I already said, include time for rapport building. So it's important that you build a sort of connection or a sort of rapport with the person, right? I'm not saying right away be besties, but you want to at least have some sort of connection. It's really important. And set a meeting goal. And this can happen in two ways. You can either set, I mean, I think it should happen in two ways. One, you can set a meeting goal for yourself. It's always very important. And that's what also your agenda helps you do, is that you know what you want to get at the end of the meeting. So you can start up one meeting, and what you want to get out from the meeting is you really just want to be able to show them your proposal, and show them a particular product. And that can be an agenda. Or you can get a meeting and you really just want to have that meeting to get to a next person that has more authority, and then more powers. But that can be your agenda. The fact is, you need to just have something like the clear bottom line you want to achieve. Because a meeting without a goal, right, you just talk and you explain a lot of things, but at the end of the day, you're not quite sure what you want to achieve. Even when you have clear call to actions, sometimes you don't know where these call to actions are leading. So it's important. And this is like tips. So have bullet points of your main points. Set a loose timeline. What this means is you don't have to be rigorous with everything, like every phase of the agenda. Just give time for like a buffer time. And here I included like interactive conversation. It's like very important. Don't ask close-ended questions during the meeting. Like, would you guys be interested in taking our Google Talent product? Here they can just say yes or no. No, we are not interested. So an open-ended question could be something like, you know, would you want to probably explore HR product that can do this and do that, and bring in their factor. So something that makes them not say yes, we want to, no, we want to. Something that makes them say, oh, yeah, if it was this, then maybe we want to try this. If it was a faster process, maybe we want to try this, and keeps the conversation open. I'm giving very lousy examples right now, but I hope you get better. Anyways, then identify your call to actions and schedule your next meeting. It's part of the sales meeting. So it's like Great. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just going to run through this, including time for wrap-up buildings, like 5 to 10 minutes of small talk, but should go beyond, which is why I usually we use like an external relevant content because you don't just want to ask it, how are you and how was the week and all that. So relevant external contact, set the meeting goal, set a goal you want to get out of the meeting. I've said that, and should be aligned to the meeting. And if fitting, you can share with the prospect before. So what that does is maybe, especially if it's a follow-up meeting, you can let them know by email that yeah, at this meeting we should be able to, probably set some agreements as far as this point or that point, or come to some common understanding. So what it does, it prepares the mind of the client as well, and so your conversations don't come like abruptly when you're heading for your goal. But you need to be very sure of the context. Sometimes it may not be appropriate. Sometimes it may be appropriate. Yeah, I already said about having bullet points of your main points. So we can go to the next slide. Okay. Yeah. A loose timeline. I already talked about this. So I think right now, like a loose timeline for me, maybe like usually my meetings take 30 minutes to an hour. So even if you think it to take 30 minutes, like you're very sure to take 30 minutes, maybe try to set like 40, 45 minutes. Really important. And then interactive conversations. I think I already mentioned a lot of this. So what I'm saying here is keep the conversations open and make the meeting about answering their needs and not trying to make a sale. I think I found this like the most important. And when your conversation tone is always about how can we do this for you, how can we make this about for you, then it becomes really interactive. They say, oh, this makes sense, this doesn't make sense. Instead of you being about, oh, our product is so this and be good for you. So it comes from a you perspective, but always try to make it about them. And that's how to keep the conversation really interactive when you make it about them. And then I already talked about having a clear call to action. So we can go for the next slide. So yeah, a lot of us are having really virtual meetings. Personally, I've been working virtually for 3 months, and I can tell you, like the beginning, it was scary for me because I'm like, how am I going to do sales virtually? But now I'm loving it. It's really amazing because I think I can have like 4 sales meetings a day, right? And if it was physical, maybe I can't do that. So it has its perks. Anyway, so some tips, especially from my personal experience, check the technical side of the meeting before the meeting. So question like, do you need to download a new app? For example, when I had a meeting with Standard Chartered Bank, right? It was a different app completely, and it took me 10 minutes to figure out the whole thing. I should have done that before the meeting, but yeah. So that's something that you should. If it's a new app, always be sure. Um, Especially also share if you see if you want to share a presentation, yeah, check if you have rights. If not, ask. Have a stable internet connection, especially at the time and place you would be. So sometimes you have great internet, but maybe the meeting is at an odd hour of the day, and maybe you need to double check your internet. For me, my meetings are like better at night, so night my time and morning their time. Prepare slides. Okay, so this can go two ways. If it's the first meeting, I'd really advise that you don't share your slides at the first meeting. Say you get a meeting with, I don't know, maybe Unilever, and you already had email conversations, and this is your first meeting, and you want to explore at the meeting, then you go and prepare slides or you present your BD portfolio at the meeting. I mean, it may work sometimes, but I don't think it's the best because what that does is it puts the customer in a decision making spot at the moment, and they're looking at it. They've never looked at a proposal before, so probably don't have the time to go through some of the very careful nuances that you've added. For example, you said, oh, use sustainability with Unilever, and if something they read through probably will catch their attention. But because you're presenting it right, they're just only looking at the main points. You're talking about this amount and GT and that, and giving a lot of information. So they go into decision making mode at the moment you're presenting. Most times it doesn't turn out very well because they can just tell you right here, oh, we may not be needing this, or they can even tell you, oh, thank you for sharing, we'll get back to you, and that may just be it, right? So it's really best that even if you prepare slides, um, really study the context very carefully, and only when absolutely necessary, like you don't have any choice, then you can present at the first meeting. But if you can avoid it, please do avoid it, and go through your first meeting first, get the expectations, and you know, try to align your proposal to their expectations or to the product that best fits their needs, right? Okay, so use gestures wisely. Like if you're having video calls, if you're like me and you're super proactive and you like to do this and do that, sometimes, follow the lead of the customer. And yeah, if you're like me and you have like, I don't know, a lot of, sometimes I get really excited, right? And I'm just be very careful. Watch the pitch, watch the tone, so you don't come off as a really hard salesperson. Just be composed, and I try to follow the lead of the customer. If I see, I have some partners that super excited and like, oh my, I think this is really great. Let's work on this. Then I match their tone and I match their passion. But if they're calm and collected, then I try to also be calm and collected. So you're like, who's this crazy person? Anyways, by the way, and so follow the lead of the client or ask nicely regarding camera. Guys, this can be awkward. So you go into a meeting and you turn on your camera and the client comes into the meeting and the camera is off. And now you're stuck because you don't know whether to turn off or to turn on or to leave on, and you just keep going. I've been in the situation before. So it taught me to go into the meeting, usually with my camera off, and then if the client comes into the meeting with their camera on, then I turn it on. But if they come in, like, you can ask nicely, you can just ask. But yeah, I think if you're not asking, then just subtly follow their lead. Anyways, maybe someone else wants to share here. What did you recognize was good in a virtual meeting? What else helped you in a virtual meeting? If you have any tips, you can put in the chat box, because I think a lot of us are having virtual meetings right now. If not, we're going to move to the next part of this session. Anyone sharing? No one? Hmm. Okay. All right. No worries. But if you do remember something that can help someone in a virtual meeting, please do share. All right. So slide, how can your meeting be successful? Here, sharing a few tips. Stop waiting for the right time to make your sales pitch, guys. There's never gonna be a right time. Okay, that didn't come out right. I mean, there is right time, but you need to create the right time. I think that's what this means. So your agenda shift around your product presentation. Don't wait for the timing to happen. You have to build it up. I think what this means is you need to take charge of your sales meeting. After all, it is your sales meeting. So you need to gradually guide the customer to the right time. So here it says make the prospect the right kind of uncomfortable. And I think in economics, you're just talking about I think opportunity cost. So here is like, let them know what they're losing in terms of whatever is relevant to them, maybe efficiency, maybe process, maybe revenue, by doing things the old way they're doing. So if you're still maybe sourcing HR and spending a lot of money, you can just very nicely let them know that, hey, with Isaac it's like this and this and this, and it's really fast. And do you think it will be better, or it will help your process if you were using a method that is like this? Gradually just try to make them think a bit about what they're doing. And I think for GT, it may be easier, but for some employer branded products, it may not be very straightforward. But you can always innovate around it. How they're doing their marketing. Would it be better for them if they're very sure they're reaching their target audience instead of just doing like paid marketing and they're not quite sure who they're reaching, even though these days like really very streamlined, and all these other things. And then just gets them thinking about your product before you even pitch your product. So determining the needs and pain points, I think this is super important for any BD person, is that one of the one of the most amazing things I've learned is that no matter how good your product is, if they don't need it, they don't need it. Like if they really don't need it, they don't need it. So you may be pitching the product that is not right for their need. Um, I think an example of that would be the partnership that we have with ESEC Business School. So I think last year a lot of things we're pitching were not things that they needed really, like GT, um, employer branding spaces to do digital marketing and all that. What they really just needed was direct access to the students. They're not really a fan of all the digital marketing and branding and stuff, and logos. They just want a real space where they can just talk to the students. But because we came with a lot of packaging and we didn't get as much as we could get. So one of the things we're changing is we're really understanding their needs and like what do they really need. And it's not just what you have to offer, but what they need and what's the pain point. So then you need to ask the right questions and follow up with the appropriate propositions. If you're asking the right questions, like I know a company wants to explore universities with Isaac, yeah, because they really want to get a lot more students on their user base. And not just because they want to get popular with the youth brand. They're very specific. They want to get students. So if they want to get students, then I have to work with my LCs on this. Um, Versus when they just really want to get like a youth brand or a youth feeling where I can work generally at spaces, conference spaces and all that. Anyways, so transition through topics, don't go violently from collecting data to creating the need in the prospect. So this reminds them that you're a salesperson. So don't just say, hey, you need 10 people and then we can give you 10 people. So they've answered your question and then you immediately use that question to sell or pitch a product. So you transition. And I put a simple example here. So it says like a transition question can be like, oh, I see you're interested in getting grounds with students and the younger community, right? And then or true, they affirm. So then you go on to sort of confirm or tell them why this is important. I personally think this is befitting in the millennial market and why they really should get and pause for affirmation. So let them agree with what you've said or let them disagree and let them tell you what the disagreement is. Because if they don't, then if they do disagree, then you may not have gotten it right. So what you're doing here is confirming what they've said with your own perspective of the issue of what they want to achieve and just checking that if this is really true for them. So once if they affirm that you're sure you got the need, if they don't, then you need to probably understand better the needs. So I think help prospects realize their own need for help. We already talked about it. So I'm going to skip this slide because of time of the part. Yeah, map out the final transition before your pitch. So an example of a really fine transition here, there's one about GT that said, what if I told you our global talent product would help you solve to the specific issues, allowing you to achieve this and that in this amount of time? Would you be interested? So that's a question. Another question is about employer branding. I put here is it's quite interesting, leading up from the conversation. It's quite interesting that you're actually looking for a useful whatever. Because we have our employer branding product, which is designed to help you achieve this. Would you be interested in exploring this? And so that's a, and then they can go, oh yes, or they can go, ah yeah, interesting, but do you have these features? And then you can finally start pitching your product. And lastly, practice the meeting agenda, try out the transition so it comes out naturally and doesn't sound rehearsed. And you should be good to go. So next slide. Great. So we've come to the point where we have to practice. I hope we still have, okay, yeah, have a couple minutes. I'm not sure we have over 20 minutes, but we do have a couple minutes to practice. So what we're going to do now is we are going to be broken out into our tribes and we will take 7 minutes. Okay, 7 minutes, I guess, 5 to 7 minutes, 7 minutes, okay, 5 minutes too short, 7 minutes to practice our sales meeting flow. So in your tribe, one person be the company, and maybe the other person or the other two people can be Isaac. And let's try out. Okay, any questions before we go into our breakout rooms? Any questions? Any questions? No questions at all. All right. Okay, so I think we can go into a breakout room now. Thank you guys. Looking forward to see you back in a bit. Everyone, welcome back. Great, amazing. That went really fast, but okay. I hope that we were able to do something in our respective groups. So, is there anyone who wants to showcase what they were able to do in their groups? What specifically they were able to get from the interaction with other entities in terms of sales meeting, what they did well or what they're improving on or anything. Just showcase what you guys had the time to practice. So I think there were like one, two, three, almost four breakout rooms. So group one wants to share? Anyone? Okay. I'm not quite sure who were those that in group one, but maybe you guys can just share. Please, guys. So maybe we can learn from anything that you had to
I
talk
can,
about.
I think pick people because I see who was in room, in which room. Okay, so maybe we can start with Krunal from room one.
All right. In room one, I mean, we did not have enough, time to create the entire scenario and run the simulation. But I think we had a very interactive space. We tried to understand what are the usual flows of the meet. What is the usual flow of the meeting look like, and we compared it with the flow that Victory presented earlier, and we also looked into different scenarios as to what kind of meeting is it, whether we are meeting the client for the first time, or he or she has already been associated with us in the past. So yeah, I think we had a very productive space, and I mean, per se speaking, I could also get a couple of inferences that I can include in my sales meeting. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Cornell. Thank you so much for sharing. I think all very relevant. Yeah.
Okay, so from room two, I can nominate Isaac in Indonesia and the Antara.
Yes, about what we discussed on
Yes, yeah.
the. Mm. So it's not actually going really smooth because like we spend much time to actually discuss what kind of things we want to actually propose and what kind of thing that who wants to role play to be the prospect and then that. But I think Michelle started to actually to sell. I think if I'm not mistaken, she tried to actually sell GLD and tried to actually introduce and to open up the meeting with the partners. So I think and the rest of that is actually is going to actually in last like 2 minutes to close the discussions.
Okay. Thank you.
And from room three, I think who can go?
I can go. Oh,
Okay.
okay. I mean, anyone else can go. I thought you said you can go. Anyone else can share from my group, but okay, yeah, just to save time. I think we're in the same category with group two. We spend a lot of time just haggling about, oh, what product should we sell and everything. But I think at the end of the day, we started off selling employer branding, and the thing that I picked up was um, they were able. I was the company, and they were really able to at least build the rapport at the beginning, and that was as far as we got. And they did the external context thing. I think whether subconsciously or consciously, they did it because they were talking about working from home and virtual thing, and that's what every company can relate to at the time. So we basically exchanged or we connected on that level. Working from home was crazy, and at the time, my little baby was around, so it's like, yeah, popping into the screen, like, yeah, apologies, and that kind of thing. So I think yes, that was good, and it put me in the right mood if I was the company to actually discuss with this person because I see a person and not just a sales machine. Yeah. Okay, guys, I guess that is the end of the session at this point. We are exactly 2 minutes